Today's episode was brought to you by PreXion. PreXion is a proud educational sponsor and supporter of Dentist in the Know and has been for a while, and we're just honored to have them aboard.
As always, all of our educational partners are products that you can trust because we use them, we vetted them, we know them. PreXion is one of those companies. They have a full line of CBCT scanners, but way beyond that, way beyond the best images in the industry, way beyond the best customer service in the industry. They're just a bunch of good folks putting a great product out there. And if you've heard any of our lectures, you'll know that this is just critical equipment that every dental practice should be incorporating. So we're so proud to have PreXion with us.
Thank you, PreXion.
Greetings, me laddies. It's Jeffrey Harrigan back from Ireland. What a splendid trip we had with the Papperts, Laurie and Bobby. It was a wonderful trip, had plenty of pints of Guinness, and what a great time it was, man. I'm so happy to be back, though. Welcome to Dentists in the Know Humpday Happy Hour. This is your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It is live, and it's over a cocktail, and maybe a little jet lag, not just from me, but more so from our wonderful guest today, who is Rob Gochoel, the Vice President of Sales for PreXion Corporation, who, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but PreXion is one of our great educational partners. We are so excited to be partnering with them because, as you know, we all have their technology. We all adore the technology and the customer service. And our job is to only bring you things that are vetted and that we can stand behind, not only from the podium, but in front of all of you each and every week. So thanks for all of that. Anyway, I am joined by some of the greatest people in the dental industry. And unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight, so I'll be sharing the screen with Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell. Go ahead and bring them up, Chatty.
What a funny guy you are. What a funny guy.
I'm a funny guy.
Holy crap, y'all. 10,000 podcast downloads. Can I get a what?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stroke Jennifer's ego on that because for those of you that don't know, this show is converted to a YouTube episode and to a podcast. And of course, it's cut down. Anything that would be private amongst this group is removed from the podcast and from the YouTube episode. But hey, 10,000 downloads. We haven't been at that this long. I mean, we haven't been at this that long. That's pretty awesome. And I will say that credit goes right there.
At 100%.
Aw, thanks, guys. But we're going to give it our best shot here because we know while our humor is fantastic and our stories are usually pretty terrible, you really come here for the great content, including the news. So let's get to it. A couple different studies have come out this week, and I thought was kind of interesting, worth at least discussing a little bit. The first study was presented in the Journal of Dental Education and highlighted the fact that most dentists do not adhere to the BP recommendations by the ADA and often will go ahead and move forward with both required and elective treatment for patients, even when presenting with higher than approved blood pressures. And they also noted that one of the biggest reasons why dentists often will decide to move forward is, number one, there hasn't been a lot of documentation on adverse outcomes for treating patients in those higher range blood pressure numbers. And two, that the rate limiting step of patients leaving your office, being turned away for treatment to go seek care with their primary care physician for medication, evaluation, et cetera, often significantly delays their return back into the dental office, or they don't reappoint again. And so I think the conventional wisdom coming out of that study that maybe one could take away would be that the ADA might want to relook at the recommendations and provide some new updated guidance based on updated literature for how dentists should proceed with patients in their office with higher than average blood pressure readings. In an additional study that came out in the Journal of Clinical Pediatrics, there was a study about, or asking basically, wanting to know more information, wanting to have more information be available for dentists to offer alternative solutions to fluoride. I don't know about you, but I definitely am getting more pushback from patients and parents about fluoride application. And if not pushback, definitely inquiry about whether or not they should be using fluoride. What are the pros and cons of that treatment application, both in office and also in their take-home products? And so the study was simply highlighting the fact that while the AAP has great information out there about fluoride, treatment modalities, application processes, dosages, ideal dosage ranges, benefits and value of remineralization using fluoride, there is very little help to clinicians to offer alternative strategies to patients who are fluoride hesitant. And so I think the article was really trying to push the AAP to relook at some of the new products on the market. We talked about the hydroxyapatite toothpaste that just came out not that long ago, and they're starting to compare data between that and fluoride for remineralization, and including some of the alternative therapies that might be available. It might be time to start studying some of those because I think the patient population is going to demand an alternative to fluoride. And I think that we owe that to folks to be able to give them choices for treatment. The last article that came out, not really a study, except it was an internal study of Delta Dental patients, but Delta Dental conducted a study. It was the 2023 Senior Oral Health and Menopause Report, trying to break the stigma of menopause. They're trying to highlight many of the connections that are being seen between older patients.
Did you just say menopause?
I did.
Okay, I'm just making.
And then they wanted to highlight many of the known conditions that patients are reporting after they have gone through menopause. Those things include dry mouth, increased root sensitivity and tooth sensitivity pain. Decay rates seem to go up. Burning tongue syndrome, which we talked a lot about last week. So oral lesions, lichen planus, certainly are the things that I see in my practice for postmenopausal women. So wanting to provide some guidance, identify the fact that women are suffering with oral condition postmenopause and hasn't been studied quite enough to provide enough recommendations. I do think it poses an interesting connection between the oral and medical connection. We're always looking for those opportunities, which may then open the door for medical billing for patients who present postmenopause with some of these symptoms. Could there be medical support on the insurance side to help treat? Certainly, if we start to see these reports and can reference this data, maybe we can start to see some financial support for the patients from the medical side. Because often these patients have lost dental benefit. A good number of them are retired and may or may not present with dental insurance. So finding some connection on the medical side may be enough to get them benefit. Now we're going to switch over to the legislative side. There was a big movement this week with the bipartisan supported Primary Care and Health Workforce Act. It passed through the Health Committee, which is a subcommittee of the healthcare subcommittee with Bernie Sanders. And it passed through that committee this week on the 21st. So now it will head towards the Senate. There will be calls to action, I think, when it is taken up to encourage your members of Congress and the Senate to vote to pass this so that hopefully we can move forward with some proactive steps that we can take, like programming that will help bring dentists to rural communities and offset debt repayments and those types of programs, many of which have been put on hold or decreased in number over the last few years, to start pumping those programs back up again to get access both for dentists and medical care providers into those communities who are underserved. And lastly, one of the most odd stories that I have to bring to you tonight. There's a gentleman in Georgia. His name is Dr. Val Kolpakov, Kolpakov. Apologies for mispronunciation. He is now the Guinness World Record holder for the most different types of tubes of toothpaste. Yes, Chad, you're not going to jump in on that. You want to know about menopause, but you don't care about tubes of toothpaste. Yes, in fact, he is the proud owner of 2,037
Bobby
different.
has the world's largest collection of potato chip bags. Just saying.
Is he in the book as well?
He's not in the book, but I definitely think he has the world's largest collection of potato chip bags. Just saying. Bye.
Bye. And that's Bobby Peppert, a member of our Dinks community. We don't give enough praise to the folks who attend on a regular basis and their idiosyncrasies. But this dentist in Georgia has now collected 2,037 different types of tubes of toothpaste, did achieve placement in the Guinness Book of World Records, and his collection has been valued at roughly $30,000. Now, these tubes of toothpaste include toothpaste from all over the world and many different countries. And so that is what makes his collection not only vast, but also unique. And with that, that's the news.
We do have someone waiting in the wings, if you would.
Let's bring him up, shall we?
I think we shall.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob Gochoel is the Vice President of Sales for PreXion Incorporated. We got to know Rob basically because this is a phenomenal company that we were all kind of tuned into even before Rob joined the crew. I mean, this has been an amazing product that is really, it's changed many offices. It's certainly changed mine. It's terrific technology. It's a company with amazing technical support. And it's everything that you want to have in a partner. And I don't mean that just as a Dings partner. I mean, as a partner in your practice. When you invest in technology, you want a company that has your back after you make the investment. And that's been PreXion, and it has been. I'm on my third machine now. And Rob, whether you know it or not, we got to work out something on a fourth here for the new office. So
as long as I can get some of those golf balls when they come out, I want to be the first.
Yeah.
You don't want my club cover? My
that's pretty
cover?
intriguing too, I have to say. I
JB, Rob wants some balls. Get on
it. I'm on it. I'm going to take a note.
Yeah. I think we're going to name the head cover. I think we should name yours Boris, Jeff.
Boris. Yes. I think that's what we're going to name it.
Boris.
Yeah.
I think that's good. We'll call you Boris. Yeah.
Rob, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your partnership. I mean, this is something that's been in the making for a while, and we're so proud to have you on board with us, and we're always so proud to help represent the PreXion brand, because as I said, I know you guys stand for nothing but the best in customer service and in quality. And so with that, Rob just spent some time in Japan at the mothership, I believe.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
Incredible trip. What an interesting way to really immerse yourself in not only a different culture, but to see the company and where we manufacture. And I'm obviously not just saying this as a company employee, but the meticulous nature in which the manufacturing process is taken, and from start to finish. One of our models takes about a day and a half. Our lower price model takes about a day. It goes through 6 hours of testing before it's ever disassembled to be packaged and shipped over here to the United States. Just a fascinating process to see, to understand. The testing that's done. I mean, we're basically testing it just as a dentist would use in their office, and looking at and making sure that it works 100% to what we expect.
So what was the most exciting thing that you saw that maybe you hadn't seen regarding your company in Japan? Something that you came home with that you were like, holy crap.
I think it was, so after, it's a good question, Chad. I think after the process where we test, the unit comes back out, and then of course it's taken apart. and then it is packed into boxes. It's actually put onto 2 pallets, shipped over. And when a dentist purchases from us, that's what comes to the office, is literally 2 pallets filled with boxes and shrink wrapped. And then one of our technicians assembles it there. It was really watching the technician take the machine apart and the care in which it was done. It wasn't like he came in with his electric screwdriver and zing, as quickly as he possibly could. He was literally, with the hand screwdriver, taking every part, inspecting it, putting it into the foam wrap that you would see in typical packaging, carefully wrapping it, not too much space, not too little space, so that and then actually placing those items in the box. So I think it was really the care to watch that, the care in which the machine was disassembled for reassembly when it's sold here in the US. And so that I can 100% guarantee that when we take it into an office, it's going to be in pristine condition. Obviously, from a dentist perspective, you're making a large investment for your practice. So, I would not want that on anyone else. But I can tell you, if you purchase PreXion, you're getting the real deal, the highest quality of products taken care of by technicians that really put the effort and time into the process.
So with that being said, and I know that we're getting an excellent product, but before we get into kind of the meat of the presentation, would you be willing to share a little bit, because I think your warranty and your service, as Jeff mentioned, sets you all apart from the competition in quite a large way. So would you share a little bit about that and just tell us a little bit about the service after the sale?
Yeah, so about 5 years ago, we were kind of looking at different ways where we could differentiate ourselves and the company from the competition out there. And one of the ideas that came to the forefront was offering a 10-year warranty. And that was it was sort of controversial internally. It would have been very controversial in the industry at the time, because the warranty typically is given commensurate with how much time you think that doctor should be purchasing their next unit, right? So if you think they're going to be, buying their next unit in 5 years, you shouldn't give more than a 5-year warranty. And so what we looked at, though, was a lot of research and data was taken into account, but we looked at the rate of repair, and rate of repair does go up in year 6 through 10, no doubt about it. But ours has been very, very low, but more importantly, very, very consistent. And consistently low is I guess the way you would describe it. And so at that point in time, there was a decision then that was made. We can differentiate ourselves by offering a 10-year warranty. And we felt very comfortable doing that. And the way we typically pitch it to dentists is saying, hey, in 10 years, the technology will have changed. There will be probably new treatments, new procedures being done. The image quality will have changed, different new flat panel detectors and such, all of that kind of thing, where that's probably going to cover you for the entire length of your ownership of the product. So a full ownership parts warranty at 10 years. And I think you're doing the right thing when recently 2 of our key competitors have actually matched that warranty. So, they were first coming out with 10 years, but excluding the tube head, the X-ray tube and the sensor. Well, of course, those are the most expensive parts. So, that would be something that would be kind of done more easy to do. Now, some of them are matching to the full parts warranty that we offer. So it really shows that we have kind of led the market on that, and telling the doctor, hey, you're making this investment. You should not have to worry about part replacement for that unit, during your ownership period.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was just going to say, in addition to the warranty, I think with any piece of technology that you bring into your office, you're going to have a problem or two, whether it's user error, whether it's the computer. It's not necessarily the product, it's the systems. There's something that's going to go wrong. And I just want to say that every time that we've had to call PreXion, which has been limited, we've gotten our answer right away. The problem's been resolved very quickly. So the warranty is not just out there like we offer a warranty and we offer service. It's true to the statement, and you all have really come through for us. And I just wanted to mention that. So as a customer.
Can I just give you one statistic? I think this will help kind of put it in perspective for everyone. So we track every single call that comes into our technical support hotline. It's where we're answering in San Jose, California, at our offices here in the U.S. And the last year we had just under 3,000. In fact, I believe the exact number was 2,986. Those are unique calls. If someone calls back a second time, that's not considered a unique call. So 2,986 unique calls. Of that number, the total number that actually required a service visit to the office, in other words, for a parts replacement, was about 7%, or if my number serves me correctly, around 230 of those calls. So what that means basically is 93% of the time we are able to remotely capture the issue, find out what it is, solve the issue either right then and there, or go out and replicate it in our showroom with one of our demo units that we have there, and call the office back, tell them what the issue is, what the problem solve is, and then get them on with their day. So like I said, most of the time, fully 93% of the time, we can solve those issues remotely.
You know, what's interesting, Rob, is I bought my first unit from PreXion. It's got to be 7 or 8 years ago now. I mean, it's the time's kind of slipping by. And it may be closer to 10, but you know, the Excelsior was, you know, when that was put forth on the showroom floor at Chicago Midwinter, back when I first met with the PreXion folks, I bought that strictly because of the image quality. That's why I bought. And people make promises about customer support, especially when you're not as you guys are well known now. Mm-hmm. At that time, you really weren't. Mm-hmm. And so it was really interesting that I was like, okay, these guys really do have a phenomenal product. The image quality is better than I've seen anywhere. I was getting ready to get rid of my iCap, which the service sucked on. I will just come out and say it. I don't even feel bad about saying it. And the pleasant surprise in all of that was the customer support side. I knew what I was getting in the image quality, but it was the customer support side. And I would go right along with what you said about the low number, because in all those years, I've now purchased my third unit, and of the calls that we've made, all of them had been handled over the phone, someone logging right in and getting the problem solved. And I'm talking usually within 30 minutes from the time of the problem. And only one time did someone have to fly to my office, and they were at my office within a day. And I wasn't a dinks guy then. I wasn't that friggin' important, which I'm not now, but just saying, it was that was not any kind of special treatment. That was just, JB, don't ever do that in front of a guy.
No. I mean, that we walk the walk and talk the talk. I think that's what you're saying, Jeff. And I think that's 100% correct. And I mean, the other thing is interesting. If anybody were ever to come to our showroom, we'd be happy to, if you're in the Bay Area, look us up. We're located less than 5-minute drive from the San Jose Airport terminal. And you walked in, you're not hearing the phone ringing all day. Yeah, the phone rings, but it's not like an airline call center where you've got calls like constantly coming in for people having to rebook because this flight's canceled or that. I mean, basically, there are times during the days, quite often, where there'll be 30-minute, 45-minute stretches, an hour, where we don't get any calls. The product just really is that well manufactured and stands the test of time. So
just a bunch of ex-Maytag repairmen, huh?
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right, Rob. Oh,
go ahead. No, JB, I've been talking. Go ahead.
I think he had some fun stuff to talk to us about tonight, like some new exciting information, and he picked us to talk about it with.
Yeah, so this is exciting. This is fun. This is you're hearing it if you're watching this live, or you watch it the next few days, you're hearing this first. So effective next Monday, October 2nd, we are expanding our line by two new models. One is another 3D CBCT, and then we're also going to be offering our first 2D pan unit, since that's a part of the market that we're not currently capturing at all, and still important for a certain segment out there. And then later on, we'll be launching another model. So we're basically here in the span of about 60 days, we're growing our line by 60%, I guess is a rough way to state it. The new model that I'm really excited about it, because it actually is taking us into a segment we don't really currently operate in. If you're looking at sort of the marketing hierarchy, and that's a lot where I got my start was in marketing, product marketing, and such. We basically operate at the mid-price and at the premium. So our mid-price model is called Excelsior. That's the model that Chad, you have in your office. And then the Explorer model goes above that. I would call it the premium large field of view model. We haven't been operating in the space, say, sub $50,000. Our models run from a roughly $60,000 range on up to about $90,000. So that's a space that's growing for a number of reasons. Some dentists want it just for very strictly basic diagnostic purposes, single unit implants, for example. They want to kind of get their feet wet with it. So as a first model, something a little simpler, maybe, and then being able to grow into a more complex, more option model with more fields of view going down the road somewhere. And so anyway, we're giving them that now. So the 3D model will be priced in the mid $40,000 range. A price point we haven't had before, and we're very excited to be able to offer that to a whole new group of customers. And then the 2D model, which we're going to be launching at the same time here. It's a pan, and there's a Ceph option that can be added either later or with purchase. It actually is upgradable without any work in the office. And what I mean by that is essentially the pan sensor is removed. A 3D flat panel detector, FPD we call it, or sensor, is put in its place, and the doctor will pay an upgrade charge for that. One of our technicians can do it in the office, basically, essentially for within about 2-hour period of time, and essentially that unit can be converted without changing any of the hardware from a 2D pan to a 3D CBCT, just like that. And so that even gives that doctor the option who maybe decides, okay, I just want to start with a pan. Maybe I'm building a new practice, doing a full remodel here. I'm not really ready right now to incorporate the technology, but I know I want that option down the road. We're now going to be giving them that option, and with as little disruption as possible when they make that choice.
That is so exciting. And I love that technology is getting more and more approachable to more and more doctors by having multiple price points and upgradable options. You're walking the long-term journey with doctors, which I think not enough technology companies see, that the evolution, particularly a young doctor, the evolution of their practice, their skill set, their knowledge base, their bank account, all those things evolve over time. It doesn't mean they shouldn't desire or want to have access to some of those pieces of technology early in their practice, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. And then the last two things, which I'll mention briefly here, is we're also launching intraoral sensors, a size 2 and a size 1. And then we'll also have an intraoral scanner, which we'll be launching. Again, this is really more of a sort of an idea to kind of help support our business with the CBCT. But yet, as an office, as someone is again, investing in their practice, if they want to stay within PreXion, they now will have that option. And I think it really is what's sort of transforming our company from a CBCT manufacturer into an imaging solutions manufacturer. And I think that's probably the simplest way I would describe it.
You're diversifying your portfolio, which is needed, in the industry. But I would say kudos to you all. I mean, out of all of this, I think I agree 100% with what Jennifer said. But what I'd also like to say is that one of the hottest topics in social media for dentistry right now is, what type of sensor should I buy? Somebody's sensor crapped out, and they're not going to want to pay the exorbitant fees that some of these sensor companies are charging. And they also want somebody that's going to stand behind their product. So I'm sure there are multiple changes coming, and you guys have a lot to think through before you launch it. But man, that's awesome news, Rob. That's great.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I just will hit on there is with that sensor, we want something that, obviously our core business is going to continue to be the 3D CBCT, no doubt about it. But with the sensor business, I mean, there are a lot of manufacturers out there, and we are trying to bring something that's going to be at a very sharp price point for the market today, right around $3,000 out the door. So a good price point with a good product. The cord, which, as you all know, tends to get kinked and stepped on in the practice, and lots of issues with it, can actually, for someone with just a little bit of technological expertise, change it in the office themselves. It's a very simple process. Could take maybe 5 to 10 minutes tops. And if you don't want to, a distributor can easily come in and make that swap out. And that's going to be a fairly inexpensive replacement part, under $200 as well. So again, trying to keep this as being a technology that you use each and every day in your practice. Obviously taking your bite wings and having that there, that's gonna, number one, is gonna last, but also not be something that's gonna break the bank. Because frankly, there's a lot of choice out there, and we want to bring something out that just again, that appeals to a new segment. We're looking at, I think again, like you said, diversifying, but we're also bringing the PreXion brand to a new segment of doctors. And some of those are GPs, pediatric dentists, probably the types of dentists that are not probably familiar with PreXion right now. Now we'll have some products for those segments of the market as well.
And is this these new items that you're bringing out, these new advances, I should say, I think this goes without asking, but I'm just going to ask anyways, will you uphold the same image quality that you offer with your current offerings?
Yes. And I think that's probably the most important question you could ask right there, because basically that's what we've been known for. And we could not bring a lower end product to the market that doesn't at least provide, what we would find to be the best available at that price point. And so I'm very confident to tell the three of you today and your entire audience that, if they invest in one of our new machines, which actually will carry the brand name Evolve. So we're keeping with the E brand themes, Excelsior, Explorer, and now our new lower end Evolve 3D and Evolve 2D, that you're going to get outstanding image quality. And one of the other things I'll just add is, a lot of times when you go down to that price point level, say under 50,000, the manufacturer will give one field of view. And so maybe it's an 8x8 field of view. That's all you're getting. You don't get any other choices. This model will actually have, Evolve 3D will have 3 fields of view. It'll have a 5x5, a 6x9, and a 9x9. So we're at least giving that doctor some option. Sure, they're not going to get to go to a much larger field of view, but if they want to take scans for endo purposes, they'll still be able to do that with this model, with that 5x5 in there. So I think it's going to create a lot of value for the dollar paid for those doctors that decide to move forward with it.
That's such great news. I'm excited. I'm excited for you all, and I'm excited for those dentists that are looking to get into this.
Selfishly, I want to know, Rob, is the technology getting close to where we can get rid of intraoral radiographs and diagnose caries from alternative imaging sources?
I think it is. It's getting closer, not only with the images, the 3D images from a CBCT, but also the AI that's out there. I mean, we're actively exploring a lot of different options there. I will be cautious to say it's not there yet. I've seen some companies that have those, and basically most companies that are doing it, and you probably have researched some of these yourselves, are really, basically percentage chances, right? So an 80% chance of caries in this on tooth number 5, for example, something like that, could be the way that it's placed, and being careful to say we're not 100% stating that that's what that is. So no, we're getting there. Every new flat panel detector that is manufactured and produced We're using in our new model that's coming out later in November, which we'll talk more about later. What's called IGZO technology. That's even a better image. It captures more of the current. So instead of the current being lost, it stays with the image, and so it captures an even clearer image. So with all of those types of advancements, yes, I think we're getting closer to that. And you can certainly, capture some of those types of things within our scans now, but not all the time. So, to be fair, it's not a complete replacement for a PA for certain.
Well, Rob, I would also throw in too that everyone kind of has the option to be able to do that, because you can always do a higher image quality, right? You can always, if you want to do that, you're going to sacrifice maybe a little bit of extra radiation, okay? But maybe you do a smaller field of view. And so that's what I love about the products, is that the versatility is there for you to decide, what am I looking for in this image? Am I trying to get kind of the full picture view? Like, I mean, you know me, that's what I talk about in everything I do, is I want to see everything, and I want to diagnose with one image. And then if I need any additional intraoral images, I will take them then. But there are a lot of practitioners who it really is more practical and are not confident maybe in the joint or in airway or in some of the other structures, and they want a smaller field of view. And so they can afford to do maybe, a higher quality image without really sacrificing, extra radiation. So it makes a lot of sense to offer a product that has the versatility that your products have. So, I'll say that not everybody is going to practice the way that I practice, and being able to practice within your comfortable scope is really important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think that's one of the things I love what I do with this company, and I know our sales team does, because we do what we call a software demonstration, where we sit down with a doctor, and I would say 85, we're still at this range where probably 80 to 85% of our customers are first-time CBCT purchasers, never used it. Maybe they had a little bit of experience with it in college or at a practice they worked at, but their day in and day out diagnostics are done off of 2D imaging and a pan, for example. And then they start looking at these images, and they're blown away by what you can see. The classic missed MB2 canal, and how clearly with our image quality you can see that missed canal. And you can look at it, first of all, from the axial view, and then you can turn it around and look at it, from the coronal view and the sagittal view for that matter. But you can look at it from multiple views and seeing that canal, and how, with a 2D image, you're never ever going to see that. And again, as what that's just one example of pathology that you can see very clearly with a PreXion CBCT.
You talk about things that you can see with a CBCT, and you talk about the scope that Jeff takes, the scope that I take, the scope that Jennifer takes. Just this week, I had a read on one, and this happens every so often, but they noticed calcifications in their arteries, and I can't tell you how thankful the patient was that we were able to point this out to him. And the patient's texting me, where do I go? Who do I go see? What do I do? And it's just, we do see a lot. We see an awful lot in this image, but it gives us an insight into what's really going on with that patient. And it's not all about, the oral cavity. It's kind of what's going on around the oral cavity that tells us so much about the body. And that's a lot about what I learned from Jeff last week, but there's a lot in the images. And I certainly would encourage everybody who's thinking of doing so to go with the 3D, but I love the new offerings.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's really well said, because those systemic issues that the patient would never know about unless they had that CT scan taken, And you hear about them a lot, very, very frequently. And we've seen letters from patients to doctors, some of which, of course, are our customers, and that's obviously really gratifying to see that those types of things can be captured.
Yes.
One of the things that stuck with me in meeting with Dental Ray, which is the company that does interpretation for dentists when they take the CBCT, and certainly helps offset some of the liability. But one of the things that has really stuck with me is that one of the folks in the executive level, who's an MD radiologist, and he said the image quality coming out of your average dental office taking CBCTs is vastly superior in a lot of ways to what he's getting through the medical facilities, both hospital-based and radiation centers all over the country, and what he's seeing from those. And I was sort of taken aback because one, I didn't know that little bit of information because I haven't seen that many CBCTs outside of dentistry. But two, that he would be able to really appreciate that now, having read so many CBCTs coming out of, Joe Schmo's office in Podunk, Kansas, firing off a CBCT versus Brigham Young University Hospital that's also taking CBCTs, and the image quality is not the same. And I thought that was super fascinating that medical really has not quite caught up, and their technology is incredibly expensive as well to not have the image quality that we're getting to experience in our offices.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but all that quality image at a radiation level, which is several times lower than what a hospital CT would be.
Absolutely. Excellent addition. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That fact is, I tell patients that all the time when they get a little squirrely, and I'm like, well, you had no issue taking a chest x-ray last week, and that's 4 months worth of dosage. You're gonna have to work through. So
that's right. We like to say, I think Jennifer, we like to say a lot that, you say, okay, if a doctor, one of our customers, is asked, like, how much radiation am I, as the patient, getting, if they're point blank asked, I said, well, you can give them microsieverts to this or that. No one's going to understand because there's no form of reference or point of reference there. But you say, hey, if you took a round trip flight from New York to LA, then back, and a lot of people do those types of flights several times a month, if not at least several times a year, it's the same amount of radiation in one scan. And so it's not anywhere near, the 3x for a mammogram or 5x for a hospital CT, 5x to 10x, depending on the model that's being used. So it's when you can kind of put it in that very succinct, round trip flight kind of perspective, it really makes a lot of people think, oh, this is really not a big deal at all.
Absolutely. And who's been blown away by that, though, is the ENTs. Obviously we work with a lot of ENTs, and that's who I really see where this is going to be a standard for ENT offices. Mm-hmm. I know the problem is a lot of them are affiliated with hospitals, and the hospitals are demanding that their own ENT groups send stuff to the hospital for a CT. But when they see the scans that our referrals come over with, they look at our scans and they're like, wait, you took this in your office and it was 1/10 of the radiation that they're getting in the hospital? They can make that argument at the staff meetings at the hospital and say, look, I don't care. You can't, as a hospital, tell me that I need to refer to you and send my scans to you when it's 10 times the radiation, and I'm getting a better quality image with something at 10 times less the radiation, and quite frankly, 10 times less the cost.
Right. That's true too. All of that. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And if you ever have to, if you ever want to question that or see the proof or validity, talk to our good friend Lon McRae, who sat next to some sort of radiation expert that was traveling across country, and they actually measured the amount of radiation on the flight. Yeah. Talking about PreXion. And if you want to compare it to what your scans are taking, there is a record for every single scan that you take as to how much radiation that patient was exposed to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that's fantastic. The proof is right there. It's right in front of you. How much clearer could it get?
I remember seeing that video, Chad. I remember. I think
Mhm.
it was sort of convincing me not to sit near the window. But the fact of the matter
Yeah.
is, I remember during COVID, everybody, if you were on a plane, you wanted to sit in the window to stay away
Yeah.
from the people walking up and down the aisle. But yeah, now you're exposed to more radiation. Who knows? But
Yeah. Yeah, that was that Lon McRae. We'll have to get him back on to tell that story, because that was just such a fantastic story and such a serendipitous flight that he was sitting next to this guy as he was going to a lecture, and they ended up talking about radiation, and this nerd had a freaking had some sort of dosage calculator with him. You know,
Yeah.
how cool is that?
yeah.
So yeah, what a great deal. So I'm excited about the offerings, Rob. I really am. How can our listeners learn more about what PreXion is doing and what the offerings are that are out there?
So this is obviously the preview, but next week our website on Monday will be updated with information on the new models, including the current models. And for a lot of doctors, the current models are still going to be the right choice for the type of dentistry that they're doing in their practice. But all of them will be loaded in there, and they can take a quick look. The other things they can do on the website is actually there's a quick takes probably 30 seconds to enter information, their basic information, name and an email address, a telephone number, and we'll actually schedule a software demo with them. So sit down, most of the time actually over a format like this, Zoom or Microsoft Teams, show them some scans, let them kind of ask some questions about how they might be able to integrate the technology into their practice, and kind of go from there. One last thing I'll mention that we've added to our website that a lot of people don't know about, and I think it's a great time to kind of, as you're thinking about, especially as we're entering our busy season, which is fourth quarter with Section 179 depreciation. A lot of dentists are thinking about investing in technology at this time of year, is what we call an ROI calculator. So it uses very, very conservative numbers for reimbursement. I would probably put it in the bottom 5% of practices in the United States, but it essentially allows them to take a look at, and they can sort of put any kind of scenario in that they want, calculate it out against the total price of the scanner, and then that is calculated on a monthly basis on a 4-year, 6-year, or 7-year loan term, and then look at how much additional incremental revenue they will make. And I don't want to get into too much of the specifics because they can go on and play around with this themselves. But one thing our sales team does a lot is shows what the payback is just on their payment. And it can be as simple as 1 endo case and 1 implant, or 2 endo cases a month. And everything above and beyond that is incremental revenue to the practice. And I think that's Rob, where it's really fascinating, where a lot of dentists don't realize it's yes, it's an investment, but it's an investment that returns immediate ROI to the practice.
Yeah, Rob, I always talk about this story, and then we're getting close on time, and so we'll let Chad close this. But I always tell this story that my first investment in CBCT was more than 20 years ago in my first ICAT, which cost me $200,000, $210 if you include the room that I had to build to be able to put it in South Carolina. And it way more than paid for itself at $210,000, which was a big nut to crack right there. Mm-hmm. And so with where CBCT is, my personal opinion is no one should have one further away than walking distance from their office. And, I said it, I actually have gotten in trouble for saying that at lectures, but I stand by that because I think that's where dentistry is right now, is that we need to be offering this technology to our patients. And it is one of the biggest no-brainers, because just on what you can charge for the panos, you make your money back easily. The first case that you do more than what you've done before, it's just free money. Right. With that said, Chad, why don't you close us out tonight? Rob, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I definitely want to thank Rob. I want to thank PreXion, Mr. Imada, and the entire team at PreXion. What he said is true. The warranty, the service, all of that, Jeff, myself can speak to that. But I just want to say that there are several studies out there that that, having a CBCT in your office, 20, 30, 35% in certain studies more accurate than traditional radiography. This tonight is the first offering that I've personally heard of that is upgradable from 2D to 3D, which is a great building block for your practice. There was a recent survey that came out from Inside Dentistry. They do this every single year on technology. And the year before last, 28% of practices that were surveyed were using CBCT. This past year, 36% of practices were using CBCT. And the majority of those respondents have been in practice for 5 years or fewer. So if you aren't using CBCT, I would say that you're gradually and quickly becoming behind the curve. And the last thing that I'll close with is that we're not tooth mechanics, we're physicians of the oral cavity, and this is the best way for us to truly become better diagnosticians and interpret what's really going on, not just in our patients' mouths, but in their body. And there's so many success stories, so many wonderful things that have come out of the findings of CBCTs that I think that everybody needs to have it in their practice. So thank you to Rob, thank you to PreXion, and thanks to all of our listeners. And I hope that you all will consider integrating this technology into your practice.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession. So let's make it a great day, Dinks.